FC24 has a big problem with difficulty at the moment. It's a game that doesn't understand how easy or how hard to make certain features. On one hand, you have things that a three-legged dog could do, like hitting a finesse shot from 40 yards out, and then you have this stuff as well. Just, you know, riveting gameplay. But then on the other hand, you have things that are unnecessarily hard, basically adding a feature or a mechanic that makes it seem challenging or realistic, but in reality it's just dumb and unfair. However, what should be difficult or easy in a video game is an extremely subjective topic, especially within this community. I understand we shouldn't have the easiest time in the world as players. I mean, I don't want my 90 rated defenders to not mark a striker running towards them, but I also think I shouldn't be passing the ball to an opponent when I'm literally just 5 yards away from my open teammate. Like, what the hell is this? So again, I get that it's a very subjective topic, so let's begin with something that FC24 actually gets right, something that's balanced, or at the very least isn't stupid. The relentless playstyle, this thing to me is just mwah. I don't care that it seems unrealistic, it allows me to focus on the actual gameplay, you know, the part of the game that should require some skill. Anticipate Plus is another example of not making something too easy or too difficult. Just stay with me through this line of logic here, alright? If an opponent is running at me, and I time my tackle well with someone who has this playstyle, I should get the ball. Now that's the L2 employee at work, I guarantee it. This, however, is where all of the balanced parts of the game come to an abrupt end. Even Anticipate Plus isn't perfect, you don't get the ball every time when you should, but more serious than that, you shouldn't even need Anticipate Plus in the situation I mentioned before. Again, if an opponent is running at me, and I time my tackle well, I should get the ball. That should apply to anyone, not just someone with Anticipate Plus, and this right there is the biggest problem in FIFA. Artificial difficulty. What I mean by artificial difficulty is something that's added to the game, whether it's a mechanic or an animation or something else entirely, that makes the game more difficult for literally no reason whatsoever. Something that takes away the control that you have in the game. Now again, everyone will have their say about what should be difficult, especially when you have scumbums screaming realism even when some godforsaken thing happens. But in my opinion, the game should be relatively easy to just pick up and play, but incredibly difficult to master. Making a simple ground pass, playing a lofted through ball into acres of space, or making a stand tackle are all things that should be relatively easy, but the best example of this is finishing. Finishing a 1v1 opportunity should be one of the easiest things to do in this game, even if you look at it from a realistic perspective. Just think about when a player dribbles his way through a defense, just slaloming through 4, 5, 6 defenders, and then absolutely scuffs it. What do the commentators always say in that situation? He did the hard part, but he couldn't do the easy part. Basically the epitome of Gabriel Jesus' entire career. The issue is that all of the things I mentioned before, the passing, the tackling, the finishing, all of them have some type of artificial difficulty attached to them. We saw my ground pass go to the opposition player for absolutely no reason. We all know about having to make multiple tackles during a possession just to actually get the ball, and then finishing. Well, finishing has to face the absolute worst mechanic ever introduced into any FIFA game ever made. Goalkeeper movement. This shit is the most mind-numbingly stupid and skill gap reducing thing to ever exist. Whichever moron came up with this should be forced to eat year-old moldy chicken bones. This is the exact definition of artificial difficulty, something that makes the game harder for absolutely no reason whatsoever. If I absolutely cooked my opponent, passed my way through his defense to get my 1v1 opportunity, all of that could be for granted because my opponent was busy guessing which way I'd shoot instead of actually just defending me. It's an unrealistic part of the game that trivializes something that should be incredibly difficult, but meanwhile, you still got these bozos running up and down the wing scoring goals. However, even with all of these stupid things being added to the game to make it harder, the worst artificial difficulty added into FC24 and a few previous versions of the game as well is just touches. Every time I see a player take a touch in this game, I turn into Dennis from It's Always Sunny.
Little idiots! Idiots!
I'm not sure if it's the 10,000 new animations that make the game slower or if that's just EA's doing, but the way your players take touches in this game is awful. You can see it every time you switch the field. Look how your player takes a touch. They'll bring it down with their chest, maybe then down to their foot. They'll take a second to start up their run, and then they'll run, instead of just bringing it down to their foot and going immediately. I could not give an elephant's ass hair about how realistic or good it looks. Let me take the ball down and run as quickly as possible. The normal difficult thing would be to have players with better ball control take their touch more quickly. That would incentivize you to upgrade your fullbacks, or perhaps use fullbacks with just better ball control. But instead we have to watch Clark's dumbass animations just to make him feel better because his wife left him. And you may say, oh, it's because you're using a bad fullback. First of all, put some respect on Reese's name. His power shot will kill you. But second of all, this happens with any player you use. Take Aspas here. I send him forward as I cut inside with this new Madison card. People usually cover me when I cut inside, I'm assuming because of the finesse shot PTSD, so, you know, who can blame them? But that leaves Aspas wide open. I chip the ball to Aspas, and in this situation, I'm expecting him to slow down his run so he'll be facing the goal, take the touch with his foot, and then I can make a decision to pass or shoot. That's what I expected. But that's very clearly not what's gonna happen here, is it? Instead, he turns his back towards the goal, takes a touch with his thigh, and bumps it into the air so the defender can close him down. Now, I can at least understand why he turned his back towards the goal. I mean, he probably could have slowed down, but the pass wasn't perfect. But the touch? What the fuck? In a game with no artificial difficulty, every player would take this touch with their foot. Then the ball control stat would determine how good the touch is and perhaps how quickly they can turn as well. Aspas has 90 ball control on this card, so he should be able to take the touch well and turn quick enough so I can make a decision to pass or shoot. But I can't even make the decision because, again, he takes the touch with his thigh. If you're thinking I moved the right stick to flick the ball into the air, that's a good guess, but I didn't even touch the right stick. Either Aspas decided he was actually Brazilian and decided to show off this flair, which, you know, if that was the case, trash. But what probably happened was more artificial difficulty. Something that takes away the control you have in the game in order to make it seem like it's your fault, but in reality, that could not be further from the truth. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list of all of the artificial difficulty added to the game. I'm sure I missed a couple of big things here and there. Attacking AI. But if there is something that really sticks out to you guys, be sure to let me know in the comments down below and we'll discuss it there as well. But anyways, that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.